Republic Act Number 166, or also known as the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009, begun and held in Metro Manila on Monday, the 27th day of July, 2009. It is an act that provides protection and conservation of the national cultural heritage. The other purpose of this act is to strengthen the National Commission for Cultural and the Arts, or also known as the NCCA, and its affiliated cultural agencies. The state is required by the Constitution to protect, develop, promote, and disseminate the nation's historical and cultural treasures as well as its creative output. It additionally stipulates that all of the nation's creative and historic riches form its cultural treasure and must be protected by the state, which may control how they are used.
For which reason was it created? Ensures effective coordination among concerned agencies in order to avert diminutions, depletion, and destruction of the country's cultural heritage. The bill aims to do this by insulating mechanisms for better management of cultural properties such as creation of categories. A. National cultural treasures. B. Important cultural property. C. World Heritage Sites. D. National Historical Shrine. E. National Historical Monument. And F. National Historical Landmark.
Privileges for cultural properties. A. Priority government funding for protection, conservation, and restoration. B. Incentive for private support of conservation and restoration through the Commission's Conservation Incentive Program for National Cultural Treasures. C. An official heritage marker placed by the cultural agency concerned indicating that the immovable cultural property has been identified as national cultural treasures and or national historical landmarks, sites, or monuments. D. In times of armed conflict, natural disasters, and other exceptional events that endanger the cultural heritage of the country, all national cultural treasures or national historical landmarks, sites, or monuments shall be given priority protection by the government. Institutionalization of heritage zones. For example, the Vigan City, especially the Calicosologo, and documentation of traditional and contemporary arts, which is, for example, the national museums.
What are the objectives of RA 10066? Protect, preserve, conserve, and promote the nation's cultural heritage, its property and histories, and the ethnicity of local communities. Establish and strengthen cultural institutions and protect cultural workers and ensure their professional development and well-being. The state will also work to develop a balanced setting where current society and the historical past coexist peacefully. It will take a comprehensive, all-encompassing approach to the issue of conservation, spanning all pertinent fields of study and technological advancements. The state must continue to manage the cultural assets with a stewardship mindset for the benefit of both the present and the future generations. What is its importance? It gives us an irrefutable connection to the past, to certain social values, beliefs, customs, and traditions that allows us to identify ourselves with others and deepen our sense of unity, belonging, and national pride.
What is heritage tourism? Historical or heritage tourism means traveling with the primary purpose of exploring the history and heritage of a place. It may mean simple sightseeing of renowned historical architecture, visiting local museums that document the past through artifacts, art and literary remains, or even something as quaint as sampling authentic historical recipes in their place of origin. Brief history of heritage tourism. Culture has always been a major part of travel, as the development of Grand Tour from the 16th century onwards attests. In the 20th century, some people have claimed culture ceased to be the objective of tourism. Tourism is now culture. Cultural attractions play an important role in tourism at all levels, from the global highlights of world culture to attractions that underpin local identities. According to Keith Hollinshead, cultural heritage tourism defines as cultural heritage tourism is the fastest growing segment of the tourism industry because there is a trend toward an increased specialization among tourists.
What is preservation? Preservation tourism, also known as ecotourism, is characterized by travel practices that minimize environmental waste, encourage the conservation, and educate travelers about the needs of the environment. And also, it basically encourages outsiders to visit and possibly experience a culture or locale different from their own. This is useful in the preservation of culture and heritage because it increases their visibility past their usual borders. When tourism is done right, the visibility and can grant a culture isn't shallow either. To see why, you just need to remember that understanding culture is the best done from close up or even via immersion. Holding yourself at a distance from culture isn't usually the best way to fully grasp it. Immersion and intimacy give you a better picture of the culture and than a remote perspective. It can enrich even your insight on cultural differences. Examples of heritage tourism. Heritage tourism is defined as travel concerned with experiencing the visual and performing arts, heritage buildings, areas, landscape, and special lifestyle values, tradition and events, and includes handicrafts, language, gastronomy, arts and music, architecture, sense of place, historic sites, festival and events, heritage resources, the nature of the work, environment and technology, religion, education, and dress.
Fort Santiago. The Fort Santiago is notable for being a headquarters of armies of several foreign powers in the Philippine history, including the Spanish in 1571 to 1898, and the British is 1762 to 1764. During the 7 years of war, the Americans is 1898 to 1946, and the Japanese is 1942 through 1945. Paco Park, recreational garden, and was once Manila's municipal cemetery built by the Dominicans during the Spanish colonial period. It is located in General Luna Street and at the end of Padre Faura Street in Paco, Manila, Philippines. Manila Cathedral. The current Manila Cathedral showcases a Romanesque revival of neo-Romanesque style. Its highlights include like the dome ceiling, stained glasses windows, and mosaics detailed symbolic. Representations marble floors and columns and restored walls. San Agustin, situated inside Intramuros walls. It's the oldest church in the Philippines. The church, together with the monastery nearby, was the only structure left standing after the World War II. The current structure is actually the third version of the church, which survived several natural disasters through time. Roswayne, chosen to be the site of the first Philippine Congress, otherwise known as the Malolos Congress, which convened on September 15, 1898, and to draft what would become the Malolos Constitution. Santo Tomas, one of the oldest existing universities and holds the oldest extant university's character in the Philippines and in Asia. It was founded on April 28, 1611 by the third Archbishop of Manila, Miguel de Benavides, together with Father Domingo de Deva and Bernardo de Santa Catalina.